Okay, take a breath. Get ready to be submerged into total self acceptance for who you are. We're talking whole self. You are not silenced. Everything you are is okay. It's better than okay, actually. It's great. And I had no idea I'd be sucked into this conversation as much as I was. RaShawn-Renée helped me to see how all of our inner limiting beliefs might actually stem from one basic source: our inability to accept ourselves lovingly, totally, and completely. We all look at the names that we've been called, ideas we've had about ourselves, maybe we took from other people, the way we diminish ourselves, the shame, the guilt. We've looked at this and thought, how long do I have to carry this for? And why am I holding it for myself? How do I get rid of this? Well, RaShawn-Renée says, this is your true source of power. So, a little about her. She's a best-selling international author, a Uist, which you'll learn what that means. And she's the founder of Real Truth International. Speaking of, her website is realtruthintl.com. Please go visit her and find out more about her work. So let's walk into this conversation about what really stepping into owning and loving your authentic self actually means. Hi, I'm Summer McStravick with FlowDreaming.com, and welcome to this series, Scarcity Thinking Sucks, So Do Limiting Beliefs. So let's dissolve your limited thinking, dump those scarcity thoughts, own your power, and get you back on your feet, reaching for the stars. Over the course of these episodes, you'll hear from some really brilliant minds about ways they pinpoint and blow up limiting beliefs in their specific areas of expertise. So come with me on a journey into your mind and heart, and let's see what we can find in these very enlightening conversations. RaShawn, hello, 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 hello. I'm so happy to have you here today. We're going to have a great talk.
I agree, Summer. We are definitely going to have a great talk. Thanks for having me.
Yes. I think it's wonderful that we've chosen to talk into the particular topic we've decided on, your genius, helping people experience whole self-acceptance, not be silenced, completely bloom out of themselves.
Yeah.
I feel like talking about limitations and scarcity, it's something that it's hard to put your finger on, but people say, I don't feel like I'm being all me. I don't feel like I can accept who I am, what I am. Certainly nobody else is going to accept it if they really knew me. So I want to start with that belief. Like, I know it's a big one, but
Yeah.
I know you can blow it up.
Oh, it's my favorite thing to talk about, actually. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Whole self-acceptance. What is so true for all of us is that the greatest gift we can give ourselves is to know our real self. And that's where whole self-acceptance comes in. And so a few amazing statistics. 87% of people are unfulfilled in their life. That's a big number, 87%. Out of that 87%, 92% of women say they're unfulfilled in their life. Those are ginormous numbers. And that comes from not having whole self-acceptance. And what that means is we have been socialized from society and conditioned through our families not to wholly accept ourselves. And that's a big thing, not to wholly accept yourself. And so at Real Truth, what we teach is whole self-acceptance through excavating, examining, and releasing the familial and societal conditioning. And what that looks like, Summer, is like right now, the way you know me is an international best-selling author, a self-proclaimed Uist, and a real talk speaker, right? But that's not how it always was. I was a girl that was silenced. I was a girl that had so much shame about myself, and I never understood why. And I was always trying to prove something to myself or someone else. And then my life took such a change that it made me pause and say, how did I get here?
Mm.
Well, when I learned how I got there, and I did everything that I now teach, I excavated, I examined, and released.
Yeah.
Um, I started teaching that at first to women. And before I knew it, I couldn't even handle all of the one-to-one coaching, which is now why I've gone to classroom teaching one-to-many. Because what happens is anytime we are holding on to a part of ourselves that we don't accept, we're saying something is wrong with us. We aren't taught to take everything in for our learning and to use it for our benefit. We're taught that there's something wrong with us if we do a mistake. And so, whole self acceptance is a way of really learning more about you. And as you learn more about you, then you fall in love with yourself actually, because you learn to use everything for your learning. So there is nothing wrong with you. Everything is for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I can say more, but I just don't want to keep talking. So if you
No,
want.
this is a beautiful introduction to it, and your presence is so calming and soothing. I'm just sucked in, so I have to remind myself, oh yes, I have to ask questions.
Thank you.
You talk about this whole self-acceptance, and in our world we hear so much about self-love.
Yeah.
I feel like the two are sisters but
Mhm.
different, and I
100%.
wonder how you define the difference or the sameness between them.
So they are sisters, absolutely. And the word love, most of the time, self love, usually means self gratification.
Mm.
When and self gratification is a part of loving yourself. However, to wholly accept yourself and then to have self love is the perfect marriage.
Yeah.
You can't have real love for yourself until you fully accept yourself. And what that means is if I'll use me for an example, and every person that's listening that can identify, like we can raise our hand, like how many of us have had shame in our life, right? Hands raised. And
Mm-hmm.
then we allow that shame in some way to define us. But yet we're walking around keeping that shame, telling no one, afraid someone is going to find out, and we're saying that we love ourselves. That's not accurate. Because if
Yeah.
you're holding on to the shame, if you're in fear that someone is going to find out about it, how can you be loving yourself wholly? It's not possible. However, on the other side of that, when you excavate it and really understand why you're holding the shame,
Mm-hmm.
when you examine it, well, who taught me to be shameful about this instead of using it for my learning? And then when you choose to release it and accept it as part of your learning how not to do that again, or if you do it again, immediately go to the mindfulness of, oh, I've been here before and I don't want to be here anymore. How did I get
Yeah.
here? And use it
Mm-hmm.
to up level your life. Then you can say you really are loving yourself. At Real Truth, we teach self honoring choices when you're at a choice point. And what that means is when something comes up for you and you can go to the right or to the left,
Mm-hmm.
and you've chosen the left many times, it's that habitual patterning, right? But you
Yeah.
pause yourself and say, wait, I'm going to make a different choice now. And you choose the self honoring choice, which is oftentimes unfamiliar, which is oftentimes the hardest choice to make. And yet, 100% of the time, it's going to benefit your life. It's going to up level the way that you are. It's going to introduce you to the real you so that you can
Mhm.
get the greatest gift that you want, which is to really know yourself and to really love yourself and to really
Yes.
accept yourself and to hold shame for nothing that you do. Like my story has been so circuitous and I used to hold so much shame and now not anymore. It's all part of my learning. It's no longer my shame. It's now
Yeah.
actually kind of my honor. To my husband always calls me a woman of valor,
Yeah.
and
Strength.
yes, strength and courage, right?
It must take courage, speaking of, to accept all of those parts of yourself. I think accepting the parts that either you decided that you didn't like for some reason, or you feel embarrassed or ashamed about, and then the parts that the world or society made you feel awkward or uh, wrong about. Like I think all of us can hear things in our heads that we were told when we were younger or growing up or by our past partners.
Mm-hmm,
You're
hmm.
selfish or you're hyper or you're weird. Those are a couple that I, right off the top of my head,
Yeah, yeah.
I've taken time to say, I love being weird.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'm hyper. I don't know if I'm selfish. I think I'm going to throw that belief right out and not accept that because I don't think that's even mine. Right.
Exactly.
So, but I've had to kind of wake up to every one of these and ask, is it my belief? Was it someone else's thoughts that they put on me that I took? Like, how do you know what parts to accept? What parts are yours? And
That's
what
a
if they're ugly and icky? Yeah.
that's a beautiful question to ask, and that's why we do the excavation part first. So I'll just, if you don't mind, I'll just talk to you about you. Is that okay?
Oh boy. Yeah, sure. I'll lay it out there. Let's do it.
So you said that you heard weird, right? And
Oh
now
yeah.
you say to yourself, yeah, yeah, I like weird. That's
Yeah.
great. You can say, yeah, yeah, I like weird. However,
Mhm.
in the teaching at Real Truth, what I would say is, when was the first time you heard that you were weird? So let me ask you, when was the first time you heard that?
Yeah, as far back as I can remember, 5, 6.
Perfect.
I've always thought a little differently than my friends and most people
Beautiful.
and
That's
set me
beautiful.
aside. Yeah.
So what I would say, if the word, and so I have to fast forward you because we only have a little time, right? So
Yes.
in that 5-year-old self of being weird, then we would do a process with you that would, you get to define it because words are your oppressors or your liberators, right?
Yes.
So you
Yes.
get to decide, do I like the word weird, or do I like that I've always been curious? Do I like that I've always thought a little differently? Do I want to own the
Mhm.
word weird because it's going to make me feel icky? Or do I like the word weird because it makes me feel like I'm different and I like being unique? So we would decide if that's a word for you that oppresses you or liberates you. If it's a word
Love that.
that liberates you, then use it and we will examine it, right? You said 5. We'll examine that 5-year-old self when you first heard it and anchor it in so that every time you hear it, you feel empowered by it. If
Right.
it's a word that oppresses you in any way, then we change it and we reframe it and we use it for your learning. And what that would look like, Summer, is okay, what does weird mean? It means I'm very curious. What does weird mean? It means I think differently. What does weird mean? It means that I'm a leader in a different way than I was conditioned to be. So then when someone calls you weird, you have the beautiful opportunity to say, I think what you're saying is, I'm curious, right?
Mhm.
And you
Yeah.
tell them how you want to be defined. And it's
Mhm.
amazing what happens. And before you know it, you are walking with your head higher, your shoulders back more, and every step you're taking, you have ownership of yourself because you've decided that you're going to allow the whole of your life to be for your learning and to let the words that are spoken about you and what you think about yourself to be your liberators and not your oppressors.
Okay, I think I'm done. You just blew my mind, and we're over. That's it. No, I'm kidding. No, but really, if we weren't having this interview conversation, I would just go sit with that for an hour.
Yeah.
Um,
And
I
when we
love that
finish this, you know what?
words.
Go ahead.
Oh, I love that words are your oppressors or your liberators.
Mm-hmm.
So when I said I embrace the weird, you're right. What I was saying is I don't stay inside the box, but I'm grateful I don't stay. I wouldn't want to be inside the box.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
the language, as well as um, the coming to terms with it. And you make me think that there's all these things floating around in us that really we haven't come to terms with.
Not only have we not come to terms with, we haven't defined it for the ownership
Yeah.
of ourselves. It's just
Yes.
floating around there, right?
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like walking into a beehive and think you're not going to get stung at one point because the bees are
Mm-hmm.
floating around you. And if you haven't decided who you are, if you haven't defined you, then you're letting the world define you. You're letting your
Mm-hmm.
family define you. And they're just defining you based upon all the generations before,
Yeah. Their
not
stuff.
uniquely you, right?
Yeah.
So you have to
Mm-hmm.
do that for yourself. If you don't do that for yourself, then you're just the hodgepodge of experiences from them that you've accepted and the hodgepodge of what society has said and you've accepted. And then you become this. Did you see? I
Yeah.
don't even give it a word. You become this.
Yeah. I was just thinking very limited being. Because what you're saying is the ultimate limitation is you not being fully expressed, right? However you
100%.
you want to describe the
It's
ultimate
100%.
limitation.
100%.
And all the other limitations and the scarcities and I don't have enoughs seems like they just kind of pile on from that original thing.
It comes from not knowing the real you.
Yeah.
That's all it comes from. It's why, prescription drug use out the roof.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
what are those called? Recreational drugs out the roof.
Right.
Drinking alcohol out the roof. All those numbers are what they are
Mhm.
because people are not taking the time to learn who they really are. So they're finding all these band-aids when what really needs to happen is deep
Mhm.
surgery. And the deep
What if
surgery isn't easy, nor is it hard, but once you do it, it just requires you to focus on you. One of my clients, she was not understanding why she couldn't get married, super successful exteriorly woman and
Mhm.
incredibly beautiful. And I said to her, because you don't know you. And the facade that you wear is so good.
Mhm.
And yet, what you're asking for can't meet you because you're not it. So let's get you to who you really are. Okay. And so now she's married. But
Yeah. What I was just thinking of and wanted to ask is what about those people you meet who are actually afraid to meet their true selves? They're afraid that what they're going to meet is so disappointing or inadequate or icky. Well, I don't know what other words to use, that they're not even sure if they want to go in and see that. Do you
right.
think that's legit or is that
Oh,
just
it's
an
a hundred
illusion?
percent. It's 100% legit. And so many people don't want to, but it's necessary if you want to live a wholly fulfilling life.
Yeah.
Any person that's had any level of outward success, they've had to do things that they don't want to do, right? We know that,
Yeah,
like
I
when you
know.
wake up first thing in the morning, most of the time we have this moment of inspiration where we're ready. But if we turn over and pull that cover back over our head,
Yeah.
we want to be there for a while. You don't want to get up.
Mhm.
So anything that we really need to do, absolutely need to do to benefit us, you don't want to do it. I don't want to oftentimes go to a walk, go to the gym or go for a walk or do any of the
Yeah.
things that are necessary for. I don't want to go to the dentist. I don't, there's so many things. And let me say differently. I used to not want to do those things. Now,
Hmm.
I can't say that I want to do them, but I could say that it's not that I don't want to do them. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? So like I'll say like I
Hmm.
had to make a dentist appointment today. And
Yeah.
before I'd be like, oh, I don't want to go to the dentist. I don't want to take the time to go to the dentist. I don't, and I would think of all these things. And now I say, oh my gosh, there's so many other things I could do besides going to the dentist, but I want to have really healthy teeth. So I'm going to
Yeah.
go to the dentist now and
Yeah.
I'm going to take a book and I'm going to take, so now I just make all those things that I used to drag myself to do.
Yeah.
I make them a little funner, by talking myself, realizing that words are my oppressors or my liberators. So if am I
Hmm.
going to drag myself to the dentist? Or if I'm going to kind of little skip and make it a little, have some adventures while I'm there and do some things that satisfy me other than just
Hmm.
having my mouth wide open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you have some um, techniques that you bring people through
Yeah.
to reach that like I am going to do this to bring yourself, and or if you're afraid of what you might discover when you reach the real you. Um, the EER process, like you mentioned it, can you just unpack that a little bit more?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
is that? Why does it work?
It works. Yeah. And why it works is because it's giving every person. So we do a course called A
Hmm.
Step into the Grandeur View. The Step into the Grandeur View is just masterful. It's masterful in the way it was designed, and it's masterful in the results that it produces. And how I mean that is we're going deep. So the EER process is actually excavation, examination, and releasing. And what we do over the course of 7 weeks, every day you receive an email.
Hmm.
Every day you receive a module, a video module. And once a week you meet with me in a group setting.
Hmm.
And you are nurtured through every one of your uncomfortable feelings. And I really mean
Hmm.
nurtured through. So, in our communication, we started with hello, precious summer. Because from the moment that we start with you, we want you to
Yeah.
understand your preciousness. Like
Yeah.
that you are rare, that you are exquisite, that you are not repeatable. You know,
Hmm.
we start with that languaging. Every word and everything that we send you is for your liberation. And we have it for 7 weeks because we're changing your neural pathways. The things that you may have been focused on before, we're just creating a different route. You know how, like, if you're driving to work and you go, well, when we were driving to work, but when you drive to work or you drive to a place that is very familiar, you sometimes get there and you go like, gosh, I got here so quick. It's like automatic pilot. That's what those thoughts are that are icky. That's what those thoughts are when you're holding on to shame. However, when you excavate, examine, and release the EER process, it gives you a different route to yourself. And that route to yourself teaches you to learn you differently than you've learned you. And
Hmm.
then it also changes your reticular activation system. So we're touching your mind from a scientific perspective. We're touching your heart from an emotional perspective. We're touching your physiology, the totality of you,
Hmm.
from all the conditioning that you receive, both familial and societal. And we're introducing you to the real you. That's why it works. And
Yeah.
it's for every person that just really wants to know, which we all do, to know their real self, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Who's
It's
really in there?
amazing.
I could see how by creating, if you're creating a bassinet, like a baby bassinet for a person,
Hmm.
to say this place is so safe. This place is so receptive. This place is so eager for you to meet yourself here. it would take away some of that fear of going there, right?
100%.
Because normally we would feel if you saw this about me, I would be punished. You wouldn't want to work with me anymore. You wouldn't think I'm the same kind of wife or husband that you believed before, right? We have the constructs of all the things bad that will happen. And
Mm-hmm.
you just say, in this place, none of those bad things happen.
That's exactly
So
what I'm
then,
saying.
so then what do you have? You're like, I don't know. I've never been in this place before.
Summer, you
Yeah.
just said it so beautifully. It is the perfect container of safety. It's almost like being in the womb. It is. I said it was, I was going to say it's almost like being in the womb of loving. It is 100% being in
Yeah.
a womb of loving. That's what you're cocooned in from the moment that you step into the virtual space, even to the degree that you have to sign a commitment contract with yourself
Hmm.
that you are going to do the work to love yourself differently and to honor yourself, self honoring choices, and to honor everyone in the room. And it's so beautiful to see what happens over the course of the 7 weeks, where the first session, when we do it live, maybe there are just one or two people talking. By the
Hmm.
time that we close in those 7 weeks, everybody is sharing so completely from their heart. And then I always take the time to schedule check ins afterwards. And then we
Yeah.
come back together and to hear. Yesterday, I was doing it. Yesterday, while driving to have a family day, I'm making calls to the people that were in the last session,
Yeah.
listening to them tell me how their life has changed.
Hmm.
And the only thing that's changed, little and ginormous, is the way that they are honoring themselves.
Yeah.
And it makes a difference for everything. It changes everything. One of the women
I'm,
yesterday said, I did not know I could be this happy. She goes, I thought I was happy before, but what I realized is that I was pretending to be happy because I had everything to be happy about, but I couldn't feel it.
mhm.
I feel so
Yeah.
happy.
I'm sure. There's so many. We could talk another couple hours about this. The vulnerability, something that a lot of people in personal growth talk about, but without vulnerability, what are you exposing? And your answer would be your real whole self, right? But if you don't know your real whole self, what are you making vulnerable? Something that's not your real whole self anyway.
Exactly.
So you have to go back and find that, or um, happiness. Yes, I'm happy because I'm fulfilling these roles. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a worker, I'm a this, I'm a that. And these are supposed to be making me happy. But like you just alluded to, they don't make my whole true self happy. I'm
Because you
doing
don't
it
know your
because I
whole
think
true
that
self.
is the goal. Yeah, because if you don't know your whole true self, how would you know if those things are really making you happy?
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm starting to see this.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see how this goes.
Yeah.
Wow,
And if
it's
you're
going down
holding
the
on to
rabbit hole.
shame, And if you're holding
Yeah.
on to shame, if you're holding on to regret, if you're holding
Hmm.
on to I'm not enough, if you're looking in the
Yeah.
mirror and criticizing yourself for anything, and I really mean anything, if you're talking to yourself negatively, then you do not have whole self acceptance.
Yeah. I can see how probably not many people do,
Yeah.
but it is the thing to strive for. It seems like even if you just get yourself a little ways there, it's
Yes.
going to be worth gold, gold in my
And
pockets.
and it keeps growing. Once you start,
Yeah.
because everything doesn't happen over those 7 weeks, of course, right? But what
Yeah.
does happen is you become so aware of who you are that you
Yeah.
start having people even refer to you differently. Like the one of the stories that I often tell is my girlfriends used to always say, "Oh, you're so particular," and I would listen to them say it, and I would tell myself, oh, well, what they just really mean is that I have preferences, but I would never say it. So every time they would say I was particular, deep down inside, it was kind of pierced me a little bit, but I pretended that it was
Yeah.
okay. and we would laugh about it. Well, when I started doing the excavation work, I realized I don't like the word. It doesn't liberate me. It feels like it's oppressing me. It doesn't make me smile inside, and I'm not going to pretend. So I started
Mm.
telling my friends what I am is a woman that has preferences.
Yeah.
So when we go to a restaurant, because they would always talk about how I only like to sit certain places in a restaurant. So I
Yeah.
would say, when we go to the restaurant, I have a preference of where I sit. If you don't have the same preference, it's okay. You don't have to even sit at the same table, even though we go together. I just know what I like. And since I'm here, I've decided to enjoy myself at all places. Now, that doesn't mean I don't shift from time to time when someone in the group will have a different preference for whatever reason. I can acquiesce to that. But most of the time, we're sitting in my preferred area. And now, because I've taught them that, now I hear them say things like, oh, I just have preferences. I told my husband the other day, for 10 years, he's been giving me tulips. I've never liked tulips. So I finally had to say to him, my preference are
Yeah.
gardenias. And now I'm getting gardenia because it just teaches that we don't, these little micro things that we do to ourselves in accepting things that we don't like,
Mm-hmm.
it really is teaching us that we can't trust ourselves. It's teaching us that we don't get to have what we really desire. Huh,
Mm-hmm.
why
That we
should
don't
we
matter.
do that? There you go. And you know my saying, what you do matters, what you say matters, how you live matters, you matter because you're the prize. That's it.
There you go. Well, I would just say we did it. We're good, but we haven't actually because um, I know some people are like, "What is the 7-week program?" and "What do you have for me?" and how do I find out more about this woman? So please share. It's the Learn You More, Love You More package. Yes. So if we're like, I'm feeling inspired, like I feel a little nervous, but I'm like, I think I'm going to reap a lot of gold out of this if I take this journey. So what do you have in what's in it?
Oh, so this is lovely. I call it a piece of art in written form. And I even printed one for you just because I want them to see what the cover is, right? It is a downloadable ebook. It's so perfect. It's Learn You More, Love You More. Can you see that? It's the perfect
Yeah, it's
story.
beautiful
It's the
and it's
perfect,
thick.
yeah, because
That's a book.
everything
Yeah.
that we give, I want it to be beneficial. It's not just to give
Great.
to, it's to be beneficial. The first part of this beautiful, so please get it. It's completely complimentary. Download it and print it. Don't just download it because you won't get the full benefit. Download it
Yeah.
and print it. The
You want to
first part
snuggle in
of
bed
it,
with it.
snuggle in bed really with it. And you
Yeah.
want to wake up
Mhm.
with it too. The first part of it, there's going to be a love letter to you, first thing, because I always believe in communicating with you first. So I've written a love letter to you, the very first part of the book. Read it.
Mhm.
Then you go into what we talked about. You wake up in the morning and you want to pull the cover over your head. So I give you a way to wake up in the morning. I mean, really, really to have morning mindfulness. And then in the middle of it, I give you afternoon anchoring because usually in the afternoon, we're kind of floaty. We're not anchored in our day. So I give you afternoon anchoring. And then in the evening, I call it the evening embrace. How do you put yourself to bed where you're really going to be nurtured while you're sleeping mentally and emotionally and to let go of the things that don't serve you? And then, because communication is such a hard thing for all of us, and loving ourselves is a challenge until you know differently, we have all of these embodiment exercises throughout the book. And what that is, there's some mirror work in there. It tells you to go to the mirror and say this. While you're in the car, think this. When you're getting dressed, think this. And then if you are wanting to communicate with your lover, with your friend, with your sister, with whomever, there are a series of love letters in the back that make me feel so good that I've written them. Like, here's one for a sister. I just asked, what would it say? Hello,
Mm.
precious sister. Remember, I said everybody, we start with precious. Hello,
Precious.
precious sister. I'm choosing to love me more and learn me more. And then it says, it's me. It's me, your precious sister, who wants you to live a fulfilling life. I'm learning to do the same. Maybe we've had differences in the past. Can we please come together and work through those? Is there anything that I can do at this moment that would support that? I want you to know I love you. And it goes on. So there are a series of love letters like that in the back of the
Mhm.
book to prompt you to have a better relationship with you and a better
Yeah.
relationship with all of those that are in your life. And that's what we're offering. And then the step into the grandeur of you. That
Mhm.
course won't begin until September again, because now that it just finished, but you can get on the list. So go to the website, get the book, or go to the last page, leave your email. I'll contact you and I'll invite you to join our collective where we will be coming on before the course starts just for some deposits of loving. And when September comes, you can be front and center in the course so that you can learn the EER process and move forward
Mm.
in your life. That's what we got for
Gorgeous.
you.
Gorgeous. And I just want to add that if anybody is looking for this, of course, it's at Real Truth INTL as abbreviation for international.com. Or there will be a link with this video or with this podcast episode that will also take you to your website.
Thank you.
Take you to
Thank
your website. I'm speaking to two audiences at once now. I realize that was a little odd. RaShawn-Renée, thank you so much. Beautiful hour and time spent. And just being in your presence, I feel, like I said before, I feel calmed. I feel opened. I can see that you've really cultivated this energy for the people that you work with. And I always say it comes from the leader. Everything that you make, the whole group, it always comes from the energy of the person who is guiding the way. So I think you've
Thank
given
you.
everybody a beautiful taste of yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Summer.
Mm.
It's been absolutely lovely to be with you. And thank you for all you're doing, making these deposits into our society so that people can really learn more about themselves. So if they don't come to me,
Yeah.
I know you have so many people that you are offering and exposing them to. I just want to encourage everyone. If I'm not for you, that's perfect. Find someone that is. Find
Hmm.
someone that you can attach yourself to so that you can
Hmm.
really learn the real you. Because
I
that's
tell
what
you,
you
after
want.
this, yeah, after this series of episodes, I feel like the hardest thing is going to be picking. Like I want 9, I want 12 of these people and things. Like I think that's going to be the real thing. Because so many of these conversations have been so excellent.
Yeah,
All right. Well, thank you so much. And I'm
you're
sure we will
welcome.
talk again.
We
Bye
will.
bye.
Bye, precious.